Welcome back to the Library of Awakening. Today, we are reading chapters 7 and 8 of The Magic Beam by Hilton Hotema, titled The Solar God and Fire. In this chapter, Hotema explores one of the most ancient and universal symbols in human history, the Sunday. But this is not merely about astronomy, it is about consciousness. The solar god represents light, life, energy, rebirth, and the hidden science behind ancient spiritual teachings. Across civilizations, the sun was not just worshipped as a physical object in the sky, but understood as a symbol of inner illumination, the divine spark within man. Chapter 7 invites us to question whether ancient myths about solar deities were symbolic teachings about human awakening, cycles of death and rebirth, and the hidden connection between the cosmos and the human body. This is where mythology meets esoteric philosophy. If you value knowledge like this, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the Library of Awakening so you don't miss future readings. Let's begin. Chapter 7. The Solar God. The ancient Magi regarded man as a child of the sun, and every nation passed through the stage of sun worship. Every morning, as the darkness of night faded away, primitive man beheld a huge ball of fire rise and shine forth from the distant horizon, lighting up the world, and a new day was born. This event still occurs regularly, every 24 hours, and is one of the miracles of creation. People have had sound reasons to consider it to be of the highest significance. In remote ages, people honored and worshipped the mysterious forces displayed in nature, and the most magnificent of them all was the Sunday. Primitive people, logically endowed with preternatural powers, the regular succession of day and night, the seasons of the year, and other celestial and terrestrial events associated with the Sunday. The ancient nations accordingly personified the sun with various appellations such as Brahma, Amun, Ra, Osiris, Bel, Adonis, Malkath, Moloch, Mithra, Shamash, Hercules, Thor, Odin, Apollo, etc. Then came the day when the silly priesthood moved in. It was a grand opportunity for them, and they took advantage of it. They prepared literature devoted to the gods, and virgin-born, crucified, and resurrected saviors. The birthday of these figments of the imagination was generally fixed as December 25th. The ancient astrologers discovered that the motion of the earth caused the sun to appear to move north until June 21st, and then stop there before it began to move south until December 22nd. The former was called the summer solstice, and the latter the winter solstice. Then, after a period of 3 days, the sun again began its northern movement, which was December 25th. This was called the birthday of the sun, and celebrated as such by the ancient world. According to ancient history, in Rome, a week before December 25th, the people made extensive preparations for a great feast on that day. They regarded December 25th as the birthday of the sun and wrote that data in golden letters on their calendars. Every year, at that time, the sun halted in its southern journey and was born again, the people said. This would put an end to the short days and long nights and the miseries of winter. So, the people, accordingly, made a great feast in honor of the occasion. This feast was general, with all nations, and was then thousands of years old. The origin of the practice was lost in the mist of time. During these celebrations by the Hebrews, an effigy representing the dead body of the solar god, Adonai, was washed, anointed, and prepared for burial amid great sorrow and lamentation. On the following day, the effigy was raised on high, amid great joy and acclamation, the tumult, shouting, "The Lord has risen, the Lord has risen." This was the original meaning of the resurrection of a god. And that is the source of the data which the priesthood put in the Bible relative to the figure of Jesus. Just outside of Rome, there was a temple to the Persian god Mithra. At midnight, the first minute of December 25th, the temple was lit with candles, and with priests clad in white garments at the altar, and boys bearing incense, exactly as in our time, when we see the modern Roman Catholic Church at midnight of December 24th. The Egyptians in Rome also had a temple, and their god was Horus. He was symbolically born of a virgin in a stable on December 25th. In the temple, there was a statue of the infant god Horus lying in a manger, and a statue of his virgin mother, Isis, standing beside it. Just as now, in the Roman Catholic Church, on Christmas Day, there is a stable or cave built with the infant Jesus in a manger, and the figure of Mary standing by it. All over the Eastern world on December 25th, the annual feast of Yule, or the Wheel, which symbolically meant that the sun stopped in its southern journey and turned back, like a wheel which would redeem the people once more from the miseries of winter. This data reveals where the priesthood got the conception that Jesus was the saviour of the world. Furthermore, the Egyptian analogies to the Christian epic are so similar as to suggest an Egyptian origin of the various Christian dogmas. The ancient Hindu allegory, known as the descent of the sun, literally translated, should be termed the glory of the setting of the Sunday. This, the translator said, was the only exoteric physical envelope of the occult meaning, which is the divine lustre of the descent, incarnation, of him who took 3 steps, that is to say, Vishnu or the sun, and the later Krishna or Hindu Apollo. A great mystery is involved here. These 3 steps of the sun do not indicate its rise, zenith, and setting, but a somewhat inverse cycle, i.e., its going down, its period of darkness, and its rising again, as portrayed by the interlaced triangles, or deltas, symbolizing the union of the spiritual body and the physical body, which Paul called the celestial body and the terrestrial body. 1 Corinthians 14:40. To the ancient Magi. These mystical 3 steps symbolize the mystery of birth, death, and resurrection. This was the descent of the spirit into the body, and the liberation of the spirit by the death of the body. The period of darkness were the days the spirit inhabited the body. The ancient Egyptians have preserved in their scriptures some remnants of the natural awe experienced when they saw the brilliant solar god slowly rising from the darkness of night, seemingly raising itself by its power, higher and higher, until the solar god stood triumphantly on the arch of heaven, and then slowly descended in its fiery glory into the dark abyss of the heaving sea. In the hymns of the Veda, the poet wonders whether the solar god will rise again when it sinks out of sight. He asks how the sun can climb the vault of heaven. Why does it not fall back? Why its path is clear, when the glowing rays of the rising sun rouse him from sleep and call him back to new life, when he sees the sun stretching out its golden arms to bless the world and save it from the terror of darkness. He exclaims, "Arise, our life, our spirit has come back. The darkness has vanished, and the light cometh. If we would find the gods and goddesses of the ancient world, we must look to the sun, the moon, the stars, the sky, the earth, the sea, the dawn, the clouds, the lightning, the wind, the storm, etc. These they personified and worshipped in their temples. They had no other gods nor saviours, but these natural gods and saviours were discarded by the priesthood and replaced by their gods and saviours. The ancient terms which had denoted natural phenomena would denote not merely living things, but also living persons. From that point, personification, to deification, the steps would be short and few. This process in the hands of the cunning priesthood would accomplish the result desired to exalt the priesthood and reduce man to a worm of the dust. All the expressions which had attached living force to natural objects would remain as descriptions of personal and anthropomorphic gods. Every word would become an attribute, and all ideas, once grouped around a simple object, would branch off into distinct personifications. The sun had been the lord of light, the driver of the chariot of the sky. He had toiled for man and sunk down to rest after a hard battle. Now the lord of light would be Phoebus Apollon, while Helios would remain enthroned in the fiery chariot, and his labours and death struggle would be transferred to Hercules. There would be many other expressions which would still remain as flaunting phrases, not attached to any definite deities. These would be gradually converted into incidents in the life of the heroes and be woven at length into systematic scriptures. Finally, these gods and heroes, and the incidents of their mythical career, would each receive a habitation and a name. These would remain as real history ages after the origin and the meaning of the words had been forgotten, either entirely or in part. Chapter 8. Fire. By fire we can alter solids, part them, powder them, melt them, drive them out to more and more delicate and impalpable textures, firing the invisible molecules or imponderables into clouds, into mist, into gas, out of seeing, into smelling, out of smelling, into the invisible world. Dr. R.S. Clymer, Philosophy of Fire. For the ancient wise men appear to use the terms fire and astral light, what we term electricity, more than 2,500 years ago. Anaximander, 611 to 458 c, stated that in the four Indavayas, process of creation, fire was the original of all other elements. He said, fire gave birth to gases, and these to air, which produces water as temperatures fall. And water, slowly coagulating, forms all more solid matter, including the earth. Anaximenes, 380 to 320 B.C., expounded the proposition in more detail by asserting that fire becomes far when exceedingly attenuated, when more condensed, wind. A still further condensation produces clouds. Greater compression changes clouds into water. Further pressure produces the earth. And finally, stones are formed as matter becomes still more condensed. These successive changes being produced by motion, which is constant. The assertions of these Greek philosophers was confirmed by the results of the recent splitting of the atom, when science was shocked to see matter transformed into radiation and vanish from sight. That was a sad blow to materialism. The sacred flame of the ancient magi symbolized the divine fire. Now, their fire philosophy lies buried beneath the ruins of their temples of the ancient world. It was necessary to bury that philosophy in order to give birth to the God of Christianity. In the humblest hut of the East, there is always a light, a flame that never fails, neither physically nor symbolically. A light constantly burns before the holy ark of the synagogue. There is one over the altar of the Mother Church, and one illuminating the crescent of the mosque. In its majestic sweep, the fire symbol rises above all other elements in grandeur and impressiveness. A full implication of its meaning elevates the mind into reaches of luminous suggestiveness in regard to the splendor of the glorious experience awaiting us in future areas of our evolution. Fire is the emblem of our highest nobility, and even as a mere figure, it possesses certain power to incite dim intimations of the magnificence of that remarkable reality of which it dimly hints. The baffling mystery of life lies back of that energetic display of fire, consuming all substance and melting all metals. The mystery becomes more awesome as we realize that our very life is more analogous to fire than to anything else. For the ego within the body is a spark of the eternal flame. The word pyramid is derived from the Greek words pyre, meaning fire, and midos, meaning measure. Massey said that midos stood for the 10 original measures, or arcs, traced by the ancient god of fire, the sun, through the zodiacal circuit. As the Great Pyramid of Gizeh, and also the others, seem to have been related to sidereal measurements, this theory indicates a 10-fold measure of fire, a figure of the ancient magi for manifest life. The Greek pyra stems from the Chaldean ancient word for fire. Dunlap said, the fire god of was Abram. The Hebrew word Abi meant father, and Ram, head sign of the zodiac, meant most high. So, according to the Bible, the first emanation, Abraham, came from the primal fire of creation, Genta 11:31. The Sanskrit Agni, god of fire, is traced by Massey to the general root, ag, meaning to move quickly. As this derivation links it to the Greek theos. God, who by etymology is the swift runner, Agni, god of fire, it may well be connected with Theos, the god whose symbol everywhere was the swift darting flame, whether in the sky as lightning or in the realm of intelligence. A flash of intelligence is the sign and token of the swift activity of the ego within us. Luke 17:21. The fire element is patent in everything, including wood and stone, guiding force, a blow, or heat to make it manifest its presence. Hit a stone with a hammer, and sparks of fire flash forth. This could not be if the fire were not latent within the stone. Africanus tells his son that souls were furnished to man by the eternal fires, which are constellations and stars. Virgil said that in the souls of men there is a potency like fire. Some 2,000 years ago, Heraclitus of Ephesus, 540 to 475 B.C., Greek philosopher and the real founder of metaphysics, said that throughout the universe there exists a prime substance, which he called the fiery ether. He said, "The universe is made neither of gods nor of men, but ever has been and ever will be an actual living fire, out of which, including even the soul, grows by way of quasi-condensation, and into which all things must in the course of time be again returned." The ancient Magi held that all things are formulated of fire, by rarefaction and condensation, the one active, the other passive, the one synthetic, the other analytic. Pythagoras regarded fire as constituting the heart of the universe, the monad, or first form. He said that fire extended from the earth to the limitless reaches of the cosmos. All things were derived from fire, and strive, ever, to return to fire. Dr. A. Bell asserted that the ancient astrologers promulgated the only reasonable science of creation which the world has ever had. They regarded the universe as fire in the process of transformation. They said, "From earth and back again, an infinite number of worlds are born, only to suffer annihilation in due course, succeeded by reconstruction and redestruction, without and." Dr. E. A. Waite quoted from an ancient work on fire as follows: "When thou dost behold the very sacred fire, with dancing radiance, flashing formless through the depths of the world, then hearken to the voice of fire." Anaximenes advanced the hypothesis that air is the first principle of all cosmic phenomena, and that all things are generated by a certain condensation and rarefaction of fire. He said, "Air is the nearest to an immaterial substance, for since we are generated in the flow of air, it is necessary that air should be infinite and limitless, so that it is never exhausted nor diminished." He held that air is an animate essence in ceaseless motion, and is thus constantly changing its forms, generating new things, things not contained, as such, in the primitive, homogeneous substance. It was considered that force is an innate attribute of primordial, living substance. Hence, air is, according to this Greek philosopher, the creative cause of the world and all it contains, including man. Thus above all things come into existence, and thus shall be generated all the things that ever will be. The Bible does not teach that ancient doctrine. It claims that a God did the generating and creating. This variation clearly shows that the first chapter of Genesis in the Bible was not based on the teaching of the ancient Magi, and that the ancient races knew nothing about the biblical God. He was a later invention of the priesthood. He was man-made. That concludes chapter 7 and 8 from The Magic Beam. If you enjoyed this reading, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Library of Awakening. Your support helps us grow this platform organically and continue sharing powerful books like this. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep awakening.
Welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening. I know some of the perspectives that I share may be as challenging for you as they once were for me. But isn't that the beauty of exploration? Every perspective, no matter how unconventional, has something valuable to contribute to it if it's shared. Knowledge is not absolute, it's a living, breathing phenomena, shaped and reshaped over time. The important thing is not always be right, but to always be curious. Explore freely, share boldly, and learn deeply. And don't rely solely on others to validate your discoveries. Stand firm in integrity, even in the face of criticism. Remember that growth always means embracing the humility to admit when we're wrong. Learning from our errors is not a setback, it's the very essence of our progress. So, welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening,